Welcome back, everyone, to our Let's Play series of Motorsport Manager. And boy, has it been a while. It feels like, while it's only been, I think, a couple of weeks maybe, but in real life terms, it feels like forever since I've had an opportunity to play the game and to actually play any games at all, much less do any recording. So I'm excited to get back to doing a little bit of recording. My work schedule and the stress from work is pretty high right now, but I need some stress relief, and this is one of the ways that I get that. So what I decided to do was I decided to finish off the previous season where I was, go ahead and finish off that season and prepare for one final season in Motorsport Manager. Now I say one final season because unless they come up with some huge new update, new patch to add a bunch of new content, then this is probably going to be the last season that I do any recording for Motorsport Manager. I've played quite a bit of it, a few hundred hours plus at this point. I'm not even sure how many hours, but it's sort of run its course for me. There are too many things that are just too predictable for me. So I'm going to make this my final season again, unless there's some huge mod or patch or new content update that changes my mind on that. So as you can see, sort of at the middle of the screen at the top, we are pretty much middle of the road as far as teams go, which isn't all that bad, really, considering this is only the second season starting a brand new team in the top tier. But our car is going to start out the season middle of the road. Drivers, again, middle of the road. You can tell that by the arrow next to the graph here. And again, headquarters pretty much middle of the road. Now, we do have an excellent staff and some great sponsors. So those are great, but the sponsors give you the money, but they don't help you on the track. You actually have to get the parts and the pieces to go faster on the track. And it took me the entire season just to get up to this. We started with the very worst car on the grid, and we're able to do fairly well to get it up to here. But, probably another season and some more HQ building, then we could get up to where we could compete for a championship. But in this particular season, we're going to set some goals, some realistic goals, and then see where we can go from there. All right, so we're at the point in the preseason where I've already done, the paint changes, the livery changes. I've done the preseason testing and all that sort of thing. So we're at a point now where if we take a look at our mail, we need to set our targets. And at this particular point, I see no reason to be conservative here. So we're going to go straight for fourth position. That's our goal, which is going to be a pretty huge undertaking considering where we are, but that's going to get us the most money. And hey, we're going to go for broke here. And we're going to spend every dime of this that we possibly can in pursuit of the best possible finishing positions. So if we take a look at our car, we already said that it's pretty much the middle of the road except for acceleration. Now, I have no idea why we're so far behind on acceleration. I would expect to be a little bit behind, but at this particular point in time, we are way behind. So let's start there by designing new parts. Then we'll come into improved parts and see what we've got. So gearbox, let's see what we've got. And basically nothing. The acceleration, adding 25 to the max is fine, but we're not going to have any opportunity to really work on that because we're going to spend the first 3 to 4 races of the season working on reliability. So none of this is effectively doing us much of any good. We'll go ahead and choose that option because we need to get on to the second slot. And I see here we can get a plus 30 on there. This slot does us no good at all. And this slot really does us no good at all either. So we're looking at maybe a plus 30 there. So we'll go ahead and get started building that. So that doesn't give me much hope that we're going to make our way very far up this ladder for sure. Okay, but now what we really need to work on right now is we've got 11 days to our first race, which is very little time. We need to get some parts as good as we can, and we want to start with the engine and the gearbox. And then after that, we'll move on probably to the suspension, and then the spoiler will be next, and then finally brakes will be the very last thing. And the reason I was a little bit surprised that our gearbox was so bad compared to everybody else is you can see we're at 415, a good deal behind the engine for sure, which is well into the 500s, but it's not that far below. Spoiler is much lower than that. So I was shocked to see us that much below the median there. But again, we're going to go with it and see what we can get. So as far as anything to work on, let's go ahead and just put these in there. Now, we obviously don't want to skew everything toward that line, but let's keep everything toward reliability. And let's see, so we can get to 100 12 days after the race. We're not worried about getting to 100. If we can get to about 75, somewhere between 75 and 80, we'll be in good shape. So for the first few races, if you're not familiar with the game, then or haven't played it in a while, reliability for the first 3 to 4 races is your major key. You'll be making lots of repairs, spending a lot of time on pit road, or risk not finishing the race at all. Let's go ahead and get through some of this stuff. We're not going to be doing probably a lot of building with this being, or at least I'm planning on this being our final year. Okay, let's go ahead and move on further. Let's see, where do we want to start with? Well, I'm actually not all that sure where we have opportunity. The 10th place would be the smart move here, because as much as possible, we want to save as much money as we can to do as much part development through the year so that by the end of the season, we'll be at our strongest and maybe make a push for some higher finishing positions and possibly even a win if we can really get a long way. So I'm going to start out pretty conservative here. That will get us to 1.5, and this seems like a good place to start. Hopefully we'll be moving up to this 6th place goal very quickly. All right, let's take a look at our parts. Okay, so really everything is pretty much in line with where I would want it. Everybody's fairly equal with the exception here of the engine. So we've got one driver that's happy, one driver that's content, and that's pretty much what you would expect. Okay, so if we look at our parts, we made it to 72% with the engine, and that's pretty good. I'll take that. That's actually a little closer than I thought it was going to be. So if we look here, we've got our parts fitted where we want them. We've got our goal set, and I think it's time to race. Practice and qualifying are now complete, and we came out fairly well. You can see our grid position here, 7th and 11th. The only bad thing about being in the top 10 starting the race is that you have to start the race on your qualifying tires, which puts you at a disadvantage as far as the length of your stint. So we're going to have a hard time here with Fetterman trying to get to the end of the race with just 2 stops. We'll see how that goes with the tires we need to use and so on. But I think we're in a good position here with our number 2 driver to make it on 2 stops of essentially doing 8-lap stints for the most part. So we've got our bonuses here, race trim, 15% bonus for both cars. The difference being the super soft tires, which I think I'm going to end up having to use as opposed to the ultra softs that we're starting to race on. I think I'm going to have to use these for our number 1 driver, and then we're going to use one of our pit stop bonuses for our number 2 driver. So if we take a look at our setup, we're sort of all over the place. If it's been a while for you, like it has, feels like it's been a long time for me, I have been letting the computer do the setup. I've been letting them do all of that, and then I simply make a few tweaks before qualifying, and that's pretty much where I end up. So I've done the same thing here. We're starting to race with an okay setup. I suppose, 87% isn't setting the world on fire, so I made a couple more adjustments, pretty much moving the cornering more to the left toward low speed, and I did that by moving the ballast toward the front. So we'll see what we've got. Not a great setup. Tire choices, again, we can't do anything there. We're going to start the race on 71% ultra softs. And then our fuel, I backed off a little bit because obviously I don't need to fill it full of fuel because we're not going to have enough tire to run that much. And at this point in the season, I can't run the engine very hard because of reliability concerns. So we're okay there. A much better setup here at 95% for a number 2 driver who is starting just outside the top 10. We're going to start on ultra softs, which will last 8 to 10. I'm counting on 8 at the most. And if we're able to do 8, then that'll make us pretty easily on 2 stops. So we're in good shape there. But again, with our number 1 driver, I'm expecting to use the super softs at some point in the race, if not for both stops that I plan on making in the race. We're going to go ahead and put 9 laps of fuel in there. I'm not exactly sure, since I let the computer do all of this, I'm not sure of how much fuel we're going to use per lap. I didn't have a chance to do any of those calculations, so I kind of like having that handicap there. So we'll put maximum amount of fuel in there, and we'll see how it goes as the race continues. So my goal here is to run 8 laps, which obviously 9 laps of fuel will get us there. So I think we're in good shape. I'm not going to be pushing because I don't want to spend any more time in the pits having to repair than I'm already going to have to at this particular point in time. So before we get started, I'm going to do what I need to remember to do always, which is get in a quick save. I have had a few issues with crashes at some inopportune times, so this will at least get us to where I can restart the race from the beginning of the race and not have to go back through practice and qualifying and so on. All right, so we're going to get everything adjusted here, get our views adjusted. Go ahead and turn on the automatic use of the energy recovery system. Okay, so right now we're up to 4th. Wow, what a great start for us, especially since we're not pushing. And it looks like, okay, nobody up front is pushing. Take a quick look at the water on the track. I don't see anything right now, so I think we're in good shape. All right, now we're starting to fall back through the field. And in fact, we've been passed by, or almost passed by our number 2 driver, which is kind of what I was expecting until our drivers do crazy things like that, which is to go extremely wide and let 2 or 3 cars by in one corner. That is not going to be helpful to us at all. All right, so very quickly, we're going to move over to our number 2 driver, who has now moved up into the top 5. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye. In fact, let's go ahead and swap back over. Our tires are looking pretty pitiful here. I'm going to try to conserve these as long as I can. I think they basically hit the wall at around 20 to 25%. I forget exactly what the number is, but somewhere around there for the Ultra Softs. So I'm going to try to make these last as long as I can. We're doing pretty good here. We're still in the top 10, which is a little higher than I had expected. All right, so we're going to be able to get at least one more lap out of these tires. Again, if I can get 7 to 8 laps out of a stint, I'm in great shape. Okay, let's go ahead and get our first pit stop in. You can see we have no more Ultra tires here. That's pretty amazing. So we're going to have to put on the Super Softs, which lasts 11 to 13. But the good news is we're going to be able to push those. We'll see how the part condition here holds up for that. But let's go ahead and push. And let's plan on about 8 laps. Let's see, we better max this thing out on fuel. And let's see, we're going to have to make some repairs pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and bite the bullet on these. Let's just go ahead and repair, because we're going to have to repair all of these things before the end of the race. I'm hoping our engine will hang on for us. I don't care about recharging the battery. Let's make a... Yeah, might as well go for a fast pit stop. Why not? It's only 2 seconds that we would pick up, but hey, let's go ahead and do it. Now, our number 2 driver, interestingly enough, and see, we've got a mistake. Let's see what happened there. It doesn't look like it was too bad there. But our number 2 driver is now leading the race by a fairly large margin, you can see here. Okay, so we did have a mistake. I did not see the time over here as far as how much of the mistake there was, but that's not bad. You know, we've got the repairs made. We've done what we needed to do. Now, fuel, we have plenty of fuel in our tires. It looks like as we come back around on the mini map, we should have enough for one more lap. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and set up our pit stop for our number 1 driver. Now, we are on lap 8, so we're just barely having enough tire to get there. Let's take a quick glance at the water on the track, and it doesn't look like any rain is coming, at least for the next few laps anyway. And we're going to go ahead and fill this thing back up. Not that we necessarily need quite all of that, but let's see what we've got. We're going to need to do some part fixes. Okay, 41%. We'll see how that one goes. But for now, we're going to need to make some fixes. And we'll go with a fast pit stop. Again, hopefully we won't have any huge penalties there. Okay, let's swap back over here in just a moment as we come into the pits, because one of the things I want to do here is, there we go, we're into the pits. I'm going to let him run one lap on conservative. Okay, so now Fetterman is toward the back of the field, our number one driver, but that's not the end of the world, because remember, a lot of time is going to have to be taken doing repairs, so we're going to have to see how all that works out. If the AI don't take the time to repair their cars, because we know they're going to need to in order to make it to the end, unless you're going to take the huge chance of not doing that and potentially not finishing the race. So now we've got both of our drivers on even keel here. We're not pushing, but we're not conserving either. So right now we're 14th and 16th, and we're going to see how that comes out. Let's swap back over to our number 2 driver, who is running now. See, we're 11th and 13th. You can now see easily the bonus that was gained by not having to start the race on the older tires from qualifying. All right, so now we're back into the top 10. I'm going to assume at this point that based off of how far behind we are, I'm just going to assume that nobody has done any repairs to their car just yet. So I'm not going to get too terribly excited about our running position. You've seen a few errors, or excuse me, warnings pop up for our cars about, the condition of our cars. That's to be expected. Again, the first probably at least 3 races, if not 4, will be at that. You can see the 9th place car there needs to make some repairs, and we'll see how many repairs they need to make. All right, now we're at a position where there's 8 laps remaining in the race. Unfortunately, with our number 1 driver, we don't have any ultra tires to put back on. All right, now we're up to 8th, and the 7th position car also needs to do some repairs. All right, so we're in 6th and 11th. Okay, so we're going to need to come in. Let's see, this next time by, I would like to put on a set of ultras, but I don't have any that are good enough that they're going to make it to the end of the race. So we'll go ahead and put on another set of the super softs. And so let's see, we got 7 laps to go. Let's go ahead and put in just a little bit more fuel than we actually need to. Let's see, I need to for sure do a few repairs here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll take a chance there. Let's see, how much would it take? Extra 6 seconds. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's make sure we finish the race. As much as I hate to do that. Let's go ahead and set that up. And we're going to move back over to our 6th position car, which is our number 2 driver. Now in 5th position, we're going to set up the final pit stop here. So we're going to have 6 laps remaining when we come in. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of extra fuel there. Let's see if we can make it. Brakes, I don't mind fixing. They don't take all that much time. Ooh, a gearbox. I hate to do the gearbox. Wow, that is not what I wanted to see. But if I don't... Wow, that is huge. Let's go ahead and take a chance here. We played it very conservative with the other car. Let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and just take some chances here. We're probably going to have this backfire on us. We're in 5th position, and I got a feeling that we're going to have some issues with a lot of cars here. All right, so we're going to see what we can get. All right, so our gearbox, wow, is already down below. So that is probably going to kill us. And in the meantime, all right, so our part condition is pretty good here. We might as well. Let's just go for this thing. Might as well. What's our engine condition? Yeah, let's just go ahead and go for that too. If we're going to mess this thing up, let's just go ahead and mess it up. All right, so let's just go ahead and go conservative here and try to get what we can get as we try to limp this thing home for both of our cars. You can see now we're in the top 10. And yes, we are in horrible shape to make it to the end on park condition. But we played it very conservative here with one of the cars. Keep in mind, we need to place in the top 10 with at least one of our cars. So if we lose one of our cars, as much as I would hate to lose a third place finishing position right now, we've had a great race. We're in great position right now, and I'm hoping by turning everything way down that we can limp this thing home for a few more laps, but our park condition is tenuous at best. Wow, let's go ahead and back up because you can see, I mean, this is not good. This is horrible. All right, where are we? Oh, and it got us. So we didn't quite make it. So this car is going to retire. We are now sitting in third position. All right, if we're sitting in third position, where is second? First and second are right there. Hey, let's go for this thing. We've now got a couple laps to go. Yes, we are absolutely going to push this thing as hard as we can push it. Oh, we have plenty of fuel. Let's go ahead and push that as well. We might as well. Let's go for broke here. Wow. So one of our gambles did not pay off. We had one of our cars retire. But our second car is going to come home with a top 3 finish. How about it? We got that on the podium when things were not looking good. So it does. At the end of the day, it does pay off to make the repairs. Either way, I'm glad I took the chance with the 2 cars. You just hope that one of them at least works out. In this case, it did. We come home with a podium finish. So that's great for us here at the beginning of the season. And if you remember from earlier in the video, we set up our goal to finish 4th for the year. This will be a tremendous start to our season, because remember, the points only pay out to the top 6. So if you're outside the top 6, it really isn't helping you unless you're going to be at the back of the field anyway. So we're well ahead of our sponsor objective, and I am very pleased. And before this thing has an opportunity to crash on me, I'm going to do another save. Okay, so we're going to take our 4 points for a podium position, and we are going to get out of here and be extremely happy with that finish. So we'll let the game run through this final couple of screens. We'll see what happens with our morale, which should be fairly high. Okay, we were expected to come in 4th. We came in 3rd. We got some nice improvements here, percentage-wise anyway. On our driver improvements, lost a little bit of relationship with the mechanic, which you would imagine, given the fact that we had to retire this car from the race. But otherwise, everything is pretty much perfect at this point of the season. Driver morale for both cars is perfect. Chairman happiness is perfect. Marketability is about as high as we can get it at this point. You can see it's making a slow improvement there. But for the most part, it's about as good as we can get. We only lost 1.1 million, which is very good. Last year, I was losing 1.5 to 1.7 million, at least sometimes more than that if I didn't hit the sponsor objectives. So far, after one race, I would have to say this is a great beginning for us. We'll go ahead and move through these final couple of screens. And now we got our new gearboxes ready. So we'll call it a day here. Thank you very much for joining me for our first race and what looks to be our final season of Motorsport Manager.